Boom! We're live. Hi, folks. Sorry we're late. It's a great day here in Buffalo. It didn't rain or snow. So today today is the first recording of 2023.
Yeah.
It is January 5th.
Yeah. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. We haven't talked to our viewers since before Christmas.
Since last year.
Since last year.
Yeah.
The last year joke. How's everything going?
Okay.
Yeah.
Bless you.
Every time.
Yeah, I think it's going good.
Good.
Yeah. Got some good news today in Bill's land.
In Bill's land.
Yes.
Yeah. So we're here to talk about Damar Hamlin and what happened. So Damar Hamlin is sweeping the nation because of what happened. And where do we start? During the Bills-Bengals game, Damar got blocked by T. Higgins from the Bengals, who's a wide receiver. It was a fine block, completely legal, nothing wrong with what Higgins did. Hamlin went down and didn't get up.
Yeah.
When he didn't get up at first, I don't think anyone thought it was extremely serious or anything was going on. Mm-hmm. Most people were just kind of waiting for him to get up. He kept not getting up, and it got serious fast.
Yeah.
So as time moved on, time moved very slowly, I think.
Yeah.
You saw medical people rushing onto the field. You saw Bills players and Bengals players starting the beginning of realizing something was wrong.
And I think the first indication that something also was seriously wrong is when all the players started to form a wall. Like you know.
Yeah, but that didn't happen immediately.
Yeah.
That didn't happen until they needed to perform CPR, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what happened with Hamlin was he was down on the ground, didn't get up. Medical people rushed in. He wasn't breathing.
Right.
And they started CPR on Hamlin. Very scary. I think to Noah's point, it got scary when, I guess, before they started performing the CPR, because the Bills players all huddled around to the point where the huddle, you couldn't see what was happening inside, and that was purposeful.
Right.
They did that purposely, on purpose. And so with Hamlin down, CPR folks abound, and medical people,
training staff.
Yeah. They performed CPR on Hamlin for nearly 9 minutes before they were able to get him alert. Not alert.
They were able to resuscitate him.
Yeah. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't start to get the ambulance until after, or maybe it was later. But
I feel like it all kind of just happened at once.
It is kind of a blur.
Like it kind of like yeah, it did feel like time took forever. But I mean, like, I wasn't able to watch it on TV, so I think I'm gonna have a different experience than you guys, because like on the radio, um, they were watching the ESPN broadcast, and they're like, they look really distraught. We're not entirely sure what's happening, but we know it's Hamlin that's down.
Right.
And then I would say probably 5 minutes after they said it on the broadcast that they were performing CPR, um, that they ended up saying it on the radio. And obviously when you hear that, I, I mean, that's never happened. I don't know. I've never. That's not normal for a football field, in my opinion. You know what I mean? Like, this is a dangerous game, and like, obviously that these players can get hurt basically for our enjoyment. Um, but at the same time, I mean, I don't think you expect a player to die or have a
Or come
near death
close, a near death
experience on the
experience.
field. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
24 years old, and just like, and then like you saw the reactions of the players, and like when I finally got back, it was on to ESPN, and I mean the way they just handled that too, like
ESPN handled it really well.
yeah,
They handled it in the sense they initially started with Susie Colbert, Booger McFarland, and Adam Schefter.
yeah,
McFarland was fantastic,
mm-hmm.
from being able to give both levity to the situation as well as a player's perspective, as well as a human perspective. I think Susie was trying to do her job as a journalist and a mediator, and
I mean, I think
Schefter was kind of like lifeless, but he may have just not known what to do because his cell
yeah,
phone wasn't going off,
I mean, I think
or it was going off. And
I think though too it was hard, and that was probably the best part of ESPN's coverage, was like there wasn't any speculation.
right,
There wasn't, and for as much information, they just gave the information that we knew, and then they just talked about it.
yeah,
And like that was probably the best way to handle it, in my opinion. Um, and yeah, I mean, I think we should all appreciate Booger McFarland for being the first person to say, "You can't play this game. You can't continue on after what you just witnessed, after what you just saw from the players." I mean, the reactions, I mean, broke your heart watching like some of these guys and that's the other part of it too. I mean, we look up to all of these guys as superheroes, as larger than life. I mean, no matter what age I think we're at, because we're all football fans. I mean, like, we view Josh
mm-hmm.
as Superman, So I mean, to see Josh like look the way he did, I mean, Trey White having to be basically like taken into a bear hug by Morse to calm down.
Yeah,
I mean, Saran Neal looking just absolutely
distraught.
distraught. Yeah. I mean, it was just player after player, and you're seeing these guys that you like, because as a Buffalonian, the we're ingrained with our sports teams. I mean, it's a symbiotic relationship, I feel, when it comes to all of our sports teams, and to see these guys struggle and to react the way they did to something that was scary, because you had no idea what was going on, you know.
Right.
Um, he made a normal play. I mean, that's nothing on T was wrong. Nothing Hamlin did was wrong. I mean, he just went in for the tackle. I mean, this is a 1 in 264 million, you know, injury chance. Like, this is just a freak accident. And to watch it, I mean, to watch these guys just struggle to be able to like look at what's going on. I mean, your teammate's down and getting CPR. I'm sure they like cut his jersey open and ripped his pads off and like, but very good outcome though. I mean, if one thing, and that was what the doctors kept stressing today in the press conference that they gave the doctors at at University of Cincinnati, where he was transported to. You know, it wasn't like you could pick out one thing. It was like if all of these things didn't happen in the exact order that they did in the exact time frame that they did, he would probably be dead.
Right.
And like the fact that and obviously these guys trained for this, and we kept hearing about that, how all NFL teams get this training and they're preparing for this stuff, and but to implement it, I think, is different. And for the fact that the Buffalo training staff was able to just jump in right away. The assistant trainer was able to notice what it was right away. They were able to recognize, okay, he doesn't have a pulse. We need to bring the ambulance. The Bengals training staff being on top of it too. And then, once that was all calmed down, I think the leadership that we saw from McDermott and Zach Taylor was instrumental in, first, I think, preventing the game from being played. Because in my opinion, I don't think they should have kept going. And I mean, like, you see gruesome. Well, obviously, but I'm just saying, yeah, at the time, when you witness something like that, like this isn't like somebody tearing his ACL. Like this isn't like a normal football injury where guys can just be like, okay, yeah, that was bad, but compartmentalize. This is what happens in football. It's like, I don't know how much of the ESPN coverage you watched, but I really
watched
appreciated
until about 2 a.m.
Yeah. Okay. So
they flipped over around 11 o'clock, I think, from McFarland, Colbert, and Schefter over into people who handled it even better, and Scott Van Pelt and Ryan Clark,
who also had a near-death experience on the football field,
and has played safety in his career, like the picture. Sorry, like the like Hamlin did. He played safety as well. So, and he played very similar type of style to Hamlin, as he was a big hitter. He, a lot of things, but Clark was more of a roamer, I think, than Hamlin was. But Clark was very good. He got to play next to Palomalu, which probably made life a little bit simpler. Yeah. But
probably like playing next to Poyer.
To your point, Clark had a near-death experience himself. He had been in the hospital. He had been visited by all of his players. Pittsburgh had a bad luck streak for a while.
So yes, that they have forever. It was supposed to have a Christmas tree behind it. I don't know.
Yeah. So Clark was, I think, outstanding. I think he leveled up even from McFarland, as far as the coverage, what he was able to say. Clark really laid down the hammer on the NFL, on what they should be doing, whether the team should play, all of that kind of stuff.
Also, though, I mean, like, some of the stuff he was saying too, I mean, like, I think he was talking about when he texted Marcus Spears, who's also another ESPN guy who also played in the NFL. And he said, if I knew at the age of 24 that I could have died. He was like, I don't know. He's like, that scares me.
Yeah.
He's like, and
That's what they said, was they thought they were invincible.
Right. And I think when you are at that level, though, you think you're invincible. And, in the press conference today, watching Josh and McDermott talk, I mean, their faces, you saw them smile a couple times, but mostly it was just solemn. It was just, it was quiet. But I mean, we got good news, but still, I mean, that's something that rattles you to your core,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, Dion went on the next day.
No, he was on that night
That
with Clark and Van Pelt.
Okay.
And he was very good. He spoke very well. He wore the Chasing M's hat, which is Hamlin's charity, which we'll talk about. And obviously you could see the look on his face. He was hurting. And I mean, they quoted him here: "We are not athletes. We are not superstars. We are not celebrities. We are vulnerable humans." What they didn't quote was, right before he said that, he said, basically, it took something like this for us to realize that, and that this, like really sort of struck a chord, I think, and it struck a chord with the entire country. It struck a chord across Bengals Nation, Bills Nation,
Yeah. I mean, the whole NFL family came together. I mean, you had guys who had never played with him, that were former Bills, that were, I mean, Jill Kelly, Jim Kelly's wife, organized the prayer vigil that they held outside the Bill store. Sorry. But yeah, I mean, this struck a chord, obviously not just with the players who witnessed what was going on, and for us as fans, but also across the whole league. I mean, you had players on other teams talking about it. I mean, you had not even just in the NFL. I mean, you had guys in the NBA, even
LeBron.
that night talking about it. LeBron, Donovan Mitchell from the Cavs,
right.
Say something. You had almost all the teams across all the leagues say prayers for him, say they're praying for him, say something. All 32 NFL teams changed their logo to the pray for Damar that's in the corner. This is significant. I mean, you don't see something like this, and I think that was the biggest thing, was how unreal, and that's not the right word, but like
surreal.
Yeah, maybe. Surreal, but like also like I was saying, you just don't see what happened on the football field. Like, it's just not something you think about. It's not something you
watch this for entertainment,
right?
Right. You watch this to be entertained. You watch it to get away from things like this. There's normal frustrations of everyday life, and you go and you turn on the TV to go yell at these players as they play the sport, right?
Yeah.
And it's really hard to sit there and scream at these guys
now.
Yeah. Especially, it's going to be weird watching them play.
Yeah.
But
well, I mean, like, Josh and McDermott were asked about what Sunday's going to be like, and they were like, we were talking about the symbiotic relationship that Buffalonians have with their sports teams, and it's like, they said, Sunday's probably going to be something we've never seen before, but there's going to be a lot of Bills fans. It's going to be emotional, and I'm sure we're going to be extra loud, and
you're going to be there, right?
Be an emotional Sunday.
You're going to be there, right?
Yeah.
Oh well. Yeah.
Yeah.
What were your they got our initial reactions. So now that you're here, why don't you give us ours or yours, not ours, because we already said what ours were. What was like your thoughts, or like what were you feeling, or like stuff like that?
When I first immediately saw, so I went outside, and then when I came in, I saw, like, I want to say one of the last replays that they played on TV, because I think after a while they stopped showing the replay.
They stopped showing it pretty fast.
Yeah. So I saw
and then they kept going to commercial because they said Joe Buck just kept saying, I don't know. Joe Buck just kept going, I don't know what to say.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what he said. He's like, we're going to go to commercial. And he's like, there's nothing to say. We have no update.
I mean, on the radio, that's how they were
and
too.
We can't give you one.
Yeah,
like that was the other part, was you didn't fully know what was going on.
Right. And they went down to Sal and they were like, Sal, can you see anything? And he's like, they formed a wall. He's like, I have no idea what's going on. He's like, he's like, honestly, he didn't see Hamlin fall. Like, he didn't even see that part.
No, when you watch the play in real time, it didn't look like anything crazy, you know?
That wasn't, yeah.
I mean, I didn't see it and go, oh, he's going to get hurt or anything, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I just saw it and was like, okay, you know, like they stopped Higgins, and I think it was for like a first down or something, and I was like annoyed with it. And then I was like, oh,
yeah,
you know, that kind of thing. Sorry to cut you off, CJ, but go ahead.
Yeah, no. So when I think I seen one of the last replays, and you know, when I seen it, I saw him take the hit and I saw him stand up. When I saw him go down, I was like, oh, you know, because it's just, you rarely ever see a guy kind of stand up, take a step or two, and then fall back like that.
Right.
And my immediate reaction to it was a concussion. I thought, like, and I'm like, I got to watch the replay again, because did he get hit in the ear hole, or did he get hit, you know what I mean, somewhere just in a weird spot that like I didn't see the first time. And then when he fell back, I thought I seen his hands go up to his, like, kind of like this, you know, I can't really do it in the thing, but both hands seemed like they went up. Maybe I didn't see that right, but that also made me feel like that was a concussion also, you know what I mean? So like that's my immediate reaction. The longer he stayed on the field, then you start to hear about the CPR administered and stuff like that. You start to realize that, you know, maybe he got some sort of head injury falling, but it wasn't, the reason why he fell was not from, you know, a head injury or anything like that. So you just kind of wondered what was going on. And, you know, I remember the kids were there, you know, my girlfriend didn't even see it. And she was very upset, you know, for the rest of the night over it. And, you know, I just kind of, and the only thing I could say in the moment, you know, and I hope this doesn't come off as like callous or whatever, but it's like, you know, just to reassure her that, like, you know, hey, well, they loved what they were doing. They, you know, they kind of, there's an inherent risk in what they're doing. You know what I mean? Like, just the kind of thing you can try to say to, you know what I mean, to try to make someone feel a little bit better that just had to see that or hear about that.
Yeah. And McFarland said that, I think that about the risk portion, you know, he's like, you know, that yes, we do this. He's like, we do it. We get paid well. He's like, but there is a risk. There's a huge risk, you know, that they take by just playing the game, and this was a great example. This was an example of it.
Yeah. Yep. That. I mean, that's pretty much. And then, you know, you also, he loved the game, right? You know what I mean? Like, he loved the game. This is a dream, you know what I mean, for him, like, to be there, to play, to be out there, to be on the, you know what I mean? This is a dream for millions of children, for millions of, you know, young adults and stuff like that. So, you know, while yes, it is catastrophic and it's terrible, you know, but he was doing what he loved, you know what I mean? And that's the only way I can kind of try to, you know, calm the situation down. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how else to put it. Like, you know, to somebody I was upset. You know, I don't want to sit here and say like I wasn't, but some people deal with things differently, right? So like it was, some people cried and some people didn't, and you know what I mean? But my girlfriend was very upset. My sons were not, like, they kind of didn't understand what was going on,
Yeah.
And I asked them, like, how do you guys feel? You know what I mean? Like, how do you feel about that? And they couldn't really verbalize it. You know what I mean? They're 11 years old, so they don't really understand what's or the severity of it, and or be able to verbalize what they're thinking in their head. So
Yeah.
it's a little tougher on that end to try to understand how they felt about it, but at the end of the day, it is what it is. You know what I mean? Like, you just kind of gotta let people deal with it how they deal with it.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's kind of also been like the sentiment for the players too, as everybody's different.
And I'm sorry, and I have to say this, and I don't mean to cut you off, but like, I just thought about it. And for the people out there that are calling players soft, or I don't even want to use the other word that I've read, and that they get paid billions of dollars and they need to be out there playing. My argument to that is, if the players don't want to play and you're saying that they're soft for not going out there and playing, you are saying that's a big FU to the team. And if you support us, then I don't see why you're, saying FU to the team. And not just that, but like, you have to be one of like the most unaware people to have that take and to feel that way. Because it was just so frustrating to hear people kind of, not many, you know what I mean? I don't want to sit here and say it was the majority, but there's a couple people that kind of looked at it like, oh, well, they get paid and they need to finish the game. And, this has more implications for, it's just like,
right.
If the players don't want to play and you're saying that they should be out there and they're soft if they're not, then I'm sorry that you're not for this team. And I don't, like, honestly, I don't want you to be a fan. Like, you know what I mean? And
it's hard. It's hard to even think that, like, if you were at work and something like this happened to a coworker, how else could you react but to be in shock and to wonder, what do I do now? I mean, I think I would be completely shell shocked if something like this happened, where I just saw a coworker just
go down like that,
fall to the ground. I mean, honestly, I've been on the other side of that because I have epilepsy, and there have been a couple times where I have had epileptic seizures at work. And like, I go out, I had been out for like minutes and no idea. Like, I wake up in like on a stretcher. You have no idea what's going on. Being on the other side of it, you just feel like everyone around you is staring at you and that kind of thing. And like, but the looks on everyone's faces, was shock. I mean, just truly, I mean, and I would feel the same way if I saw that happen to a coworker. I mean, especially if they didn't come out of it. I mean, what would you do then if you saw someone go down and then have to be, CPR for 10 minutes,
Right. I mean, for what, 3 days? I mean, sure, we got we got the update that he was reduced to 50% oxygen, and there were a lot of doctors and nurses that were like, oh, they're probably going to wake him up soon then. And, and I'm sure the Bills were getting more updates, but Josh said today, getting to speak with his father, Mario Hamlin, and getting that full update where it was like, he's awake, they went 3 days without knowing truly what was going to happen to their teammate. And I mean,
right.
Yeah,
that's an awful shot right there.
That's a long time.
Just like,
I mean, like,
see it on their faces, isn't it?
Everybody's face. Yeah.
I think about like playing sports, like when I grew up, and like, and I played till high school, even in college, and a lot of kids that what I played with in middle school and stuff, I'm friends with today, and we hang out and everything like that. And I just think about like one of them going down and how I'd react. And that's kind of why my feeling was, pretty much immediately like, I see no way that they're going to tell these guys to go back to that field, play against that team after witnessing that. Like, you know what I mean? I
Right.
had a very hard time seeing that happen because to me, I wouldn't want to do that. You know what I mean? So like, I couldn't imagine
that 5-minute thing. I mean, they even said that on the radio too, where they said, because they heard
How are you gonna do
Joe
that?
Buck, and they were like 5 minutes, and I was like, you cannot. I was like in the car, and I was like, you cannot give them 5 minutes.
Well, isn't that crazy what is happening with ESPN and the NFL, where one is saying, one said that, no, we never gave that order, and then ESPN doubled down and said, that's what we got, and that's what we're sticking to. Like, you know.
Yeah.
And I just like, that's crazy that you got two separate, you know what I mean? Like two separate things of what happened in that moment.
Who depend on each other. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The thought I had on that was like, it's the 5 minutes is the normal standard procedure when there's an injury, or there's an injury where there's a stoppage. So like, my thought was like, I'm going to take ESPN and I'm going to take the league at their word, because my thought is that
like the head ref or something,
that was just the procedure. So they were like, I'm sure it was like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
At first.
In the immediate 30 seconds, right? When he goes down, the immediate 30 seconds, it's like, okay, he's going to get back up, right? I mean, that's kind of what I think you would think in that moment, right? And then once it gets to 5 minutes that he's not up, once it gets to 6 minutes, then I think that question, you know what I mean? And then it's like, okay, that 5 minute thing is clearly not. So I think based on the information they had in the moment, they thought it was going to be just kind of like a normal, I don't even want to say like normal injury, but like.
Well, I mean, like the thing is like, think about all the bad injuries that have happened. Like the last time a player died on the field was in like
50s,
the 70s or something.
Yeah, 70s.
And the player died on the field for the Lions, and then they continued the game.
Yeah. Right.
You know, I mean, there was a cardiac arrest event in like 93 that happened. They continue playing the game. I mean, you know, we've seen players get brutally injured where this car has to come out. We're waiting. We're going, oh my God. I mean, think about earlier in the year with Dane Jackson. I mean, it's not to the same level, but the ambulance still had to come out. There was still the whole stoppage. We were still like, oh my God, it's a neck thing. What's going on? 10 minutes later, we're back to football.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like that's standard operating procedure for the NFL, I think, when it just comes to these things. So I think we have a tremendous credit has to be given to McDermott and Zach Taylor. But I do believe that the refs on the field, I mean, the refs on the field saw what happened too. So I believe that when the refs were like, we were just talking to them, you know, like we were talking to McDermott, we were talking to Taylor and trying to figure out like what they wanted to do, what they wanted to go on. And then, you know, the league was also there listening in on the conversation. And then, you know, the league at one point said, okay, yeah, you guys can go back to the locker rooms.
Right.
And like McDermott didn't say like he wasn't sure like what triggered that, but he just remembered having the conversation. And then he said Taylor came over, and that's when they were like, okay, let's go back to the locker rooms. Let's figure it out that way.
Mm-hmm.
And then he was like, you know, we were kind of standing in like the front, and he's like, Taylor was there too. And the head, Sean Smith, you know, the head referee was there, and they had the league on the earpiece, and, you know, we're all trying to talk and we're all trying to figure it out. And, you know, as just shown on our screen, you know, McDermott said to Taylor, I need to be at the hospital with Damar. I shouldn't be coaching this game. And McDermott said, though, he did walk in the locker room and he said to the players, you know, I'm not going to make the decision to play this game or not. He's like, I'm going to give you guys the option. And he said that, you know, Allen and Diggs and the other captains, along with the rest of the players, but it was mostly, you know, led by the captains, that they said no. You know, we want to be there for our teammates. Also, speaking of Stephon Diggs, I never, ever, 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 ever want to hear a bad thing about him again. I mean, he took an Uber from the stadium, fought his way past security, like to the point where the guy who was there the reporter who was there had to be
had to
like
vouch for
had
him.
to right be like, that's Stephon Diggs, like, you know,
Right.
let him in. So it's I just yeah, I never want to hear anything bad about him.
Well, the reason why I assumed that Diggs was the one kind of like telling the guys and everything like it's okay that we don't go back out and like I don't think we should go back out was because I mean, and you said that I didn't know that he had brought everybody together on the field kind of after just trying to refocus.
Well, because everybody thought they would just go. I think
Right.
like the general consensus was, okay, yeah, that just happened. But like I said, standard normal operating procedure is okay. Bad injury
we got to
happened. but
figure
let's-
this out.
you
Yeah.
know, right.
Yeah.
We still have a game to play. So
And when
yeah, I mean, yeah, Diggs brought them together, and he went to Saran and was like trying to get them all locked in. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, but when I heard that, you know, when they said like, oh, players are in the locker room, we haven't seen anybody come out. And then the first thing you heard was like the first player that came out was Diggs and he was already in a towel. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
there was no question. So like you still in that moment, there was still the opportunity to restart that game. I mean, in my mind, I'm not saying that that's what should have happened. I'm saying that they could have, you know what I mean? And so for him to just kind of get out his uniform and you know, just get ready or whatever, I just thought like that showed a lot of him saying like, no, this is over. We're going to see him, whatever, you know what I mean? And so that's why I kind of took it like he was the leading that charge, but you know, maybe I was wrong.
Yeah, no, I mean McDermott said it was Josh and the captains, and Diggs is a captain. So,
but it was also the Cincinnati captains.
True.
Coming to the Bills locker room with Zach Taylor, and saying we can't do this either. And I think again, going back, I wanted to hit on this point, CJ, that you were talking about, you know, whether a player would want to play or not play, or, you know, do kind of whatever was I don't know, like my fear was that if they were going to make them play, that there would be guys afraid to make a hit. Right?
No, that was what Wood said on WGR the other day, was just like, when you see a guy that happen to a guy, you hesitate. You know what I mean? Or you do things in a game that you wouldn't normally do because you sit there and think to yourself, oh, well, if I don't know what caused that to happen to him. So, you know, let me try not to get hit like that or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, and then that's gonna, and they've always said that when you adjust for injury or when you play injured, obviously, like you get more hurt because you're, you know, kind of thinking about the injury or how to avoid getting injured more. And that's a huge point he made. And that's a very good point that you're making, in that, yeah, what it's unsafe, you know?
Yeah. And there may be other guys, and I was thinking of this too. I think I may have put this in a text to you guys or something, but like that some guys may be afraid to take a hit or to lay a hit. Other guys may be filled with so much rage and anger that they could hurt somebody, you know, just because they need a place to focus, you know, and that kind of thing. And like between the two, I'm sitting there going, if you have guys who don't want to hit, you have other guys who are afraid to take a hit, you know, like you can't go through that. You just couldn't do it. And I mean, I think I was tweeting early on just saying, just take the loss. You know, I mean, even if you're the Bills and the Bengals like fuss about it, just say screw it.
Yeah,
we'll take the loss. You know, we need to go be with Hamlin or whatever could have happened or what they needed to do. Obviously they couldn't go and see him, but like just again, just really hard for again, like all I can think about is like, what if that happened to someone at my work, or on the other hand, just trying to be empathetic and putting myself in the shoes of one of them and just being like, no, I'm not doing this.
Yeah.
You know, and again, you see these pictures and they're heartbreaking, like the pictures of the players and stuff. And it's just like shot after shot of like pain, like guys in pain, you know. You know, Tim Settle was one of them that I remember. He was pounding the ground at one point, you know. He was just, you know, and I mean, you know, the shots of Trey, you know, I just had the shot.
Right, that was a lot. Yeah. Well, the one where he's hugging, is it Morris?
Mitch Morris looked like he was a rock for these guys.
Yeah.
Oh my God, him crying like that's like a father-son picture.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and I don't know how else to put it. Like,
and he was doing that with somebody else too.
He did it with like almost everybody.
Yeah. I mean, he just, but Morris looked lost. I mean, you see in his eyes, like, yeah, he's like, I'm here for you. I'm your guy. But when you see him like holding.
Well, that was something like McDermott said at the press conference, was like, you don't know how to handle this moment. And like, they kept asking him, like, what did you do? What did you say? And he was like, you know, it's all kind of a blur, but he's like, you know, I didn't really say much. Like, he's like, I didn't really do anything. And he's like, you know, I said what I said to Taylor about wanting to be there. I was talking to the refs. And he's like, I went to go talk to my players, and when we went back to the locker room and nobody wanted to do the game, so I went back out and it was decided we're not going to do the game. And then that was that.
Right.
And it was like, you know, a lot was said, but nothing, like, you know, McDermott didn't give some rousing speech. You know, the guys didn't, you know, somebody in the locker room didn't step up and give some rousing speech to get the guys to calm down or anything.
Well, they
like
said that
like,
Diggs brought everyone.
Well,
together,
yeah. Well,
right?
that was when they thought they were going to have to go back out.
No,
and play
but
the game.
he brought everyone together, tried to give a rousing speech like, hey, let's get it together. Let's come on. Let's try and do this. Let's get through it. Let's do it for, you know, for Damar, et cetera, et cetera. And then they said all of the players, you know, were staring at him, but I mean, they were listening, they were nodding, they
weren't there.
All the right things. But they said they just all went back to their seats and just stared off into space. Like as soon as he was done, like everybody just went back, you know. And I think the support that the Bills got from Burrow, like knowing you said Taylor, one of the things that Taylor did, you know, was he, when he walked over to McDermott and said, we're doing whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
You know, I think that was a huge relief probably on McDermott, because you knew that the Bengals weren't going to make this uncomfortable or try and push something on them.
Respect for Taylor in that situation.
You know what I mean? I feel like I can never say anything bad about the Bengals ever again.
Never, because it's, well, I've always liked the Bengals. Again, you're talking about a Rust Belt team, you know what I mean? Similar to us.
Yeah.
Similar fan bases, similar people, similar
city,
you know, white collar, blue collar, you know what I'm saying? Like, and so like that, I've never disliked Ohio. I've never disliked any of the teams, you know what I mean? Because we're all kind of in the same boat. But yeah, for him to, knowing the repercussions on the line for your team, and let's talk about the NFL in general and how it's just like, you know, coaches specifically, if you don't win games, big games, you're on the line, you know what I mean? And none of that mattered to him in that moment, you know what I mean? And like, let me support these guys, and it's just huge, dude. Like, I don't know how else to put it.
Yeah. But I mean, you know, getting the news that we got today that, you know, he's awake and he still has the tube in him and he's not able to breathe on his own, but he's progressing in the right direction, has full neurological function. And,
yeah, that's,
you know,
crazy.
they were asking him questions and stuff, and he was able to write on like a notepad and talk to people, and he was able to grab, you know, ones around him that were his loved ones, obviously. You know,
the fact that he's able to use his hands, they said now he's able to use his feet.
Yeah.
Writing
is high brain function. Like that is not.
Yeah,
that's
you
what
they
can't
said.
write something and have a thought and write it. You know what I mean? And like,
yep.
I was convinced there, if he survived, there was no way he'd have full brain function again. You know what I mean? Like I was almost of the just, okay, we need to kind of accept this as a reality.
Yeah.
And then you're hearing that and you're hearing these, and you hope these reports are legitimate and whatnot. But it's like it's incredible. The fact that
what's amazing is like, again, sort of a testament to his character, right? Is the first thing he wrote was, "Did we win?"
Yeah.
Well, I was gonna ask you when you had an epileptic seizure. I'm sure when you woke up, the first thing you said was, "Did I complete my work?" Right? I'm sure, right? Or you're like, "Oh, I finished that. We got that sale, right?" No?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
No, I was like, "What happened?"
Oh,
Like,
I know. I'm just saying the difference, right?
Right, absolutely, and it's amazing that he was able to do that. I mean, just from that, because it's like, I mean, I was sitting. Back to my own experience. I'm sitting there, laying on a bed thing, and
Stretcher.
this stretcher, and just looking at everyone staring at me, and just being like, what happened? What happened? With tears running down my face and the look on people's faces. And I sat there, I remember, like, as I was being taken out, I was like apologizing to every single person who I would be pulled out by. Like, I was going by, I'm like, tears streaming down my face, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. And it just, like, that's all that I could do. Like, it's not, that was just the way I handled it. And like, I couldn't even think, and I think that that's amazing that the first thing he could say is, who won. And I mean, the doctor's answer was pretty,
you did.
Screenplay was,
right.
But you won at life.
Well, I mean, like we said earlier, the doctors kept just repeating, because they kept being asked, oh, what was the one thing that could have gone wrong? And they were like, there wasn't one thing. If all of this stuff did not happen in the exact time frame and the exact timeline that it did, and all these steps weren't taken, he would most likely not be alive right now. And
Right.
I mean, it's tremendous. I mean, these guys are heroes. These guys saved his life. The training staffs and the guys in the ambulance, and then the guys in the ICU who first took him in. I mean, he had to get a tube on the field to be able to breathe. I mean, and to be able to have for the Bills training staff people to be, they know these guys. I mean, we know how close this team is. We know how close this team is, though, not just with the players, but just across the board. And we know that these training staff guys train for this, but
not for this.
Well, they do. I mean, they train for these scenarios, but they don't. I mean, you don't think it's going to happen,
right?
And I mean, for them, I mean, I know this is their job, but still, to be able to have that poise and that, I'm assuming, some sense of calm, because I feel like when you're dealing with life or death scenarios, you can't like be freaking out if you're trying to save a person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, I mean, like, to be able to just save his life, essentially. Not essentially, they did.
Yeah, you don't take that job, unless you're calm under pressure, I would assume.
A specific type of personality.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm saying, they know, like I was saying, they know who Hamlin is. They know him personally, and to be able to just handle that and handle those emotions and be like, okay, we need to do the X, Y, and Z to save his life is just phenomenal. I mean, these guys are heroes.
Oh my God, it could be a movie. You know what I mean? Just think, like,
it's going to be.
Well, especially I'm saying, like, the one guy that's freaking out. Oh my God, I don't know what to do. And then the one trainer that's just like, don't worry about it.
Right.
I got it.
Smacks
got
him
this.
across the face.
Yeah, like calm down. This is what we need to do. XYZ, and then saves them.
Trade for
Boom.
this.
You know what I mean? Like,
Bruce Willis or something.
Yeah. But
yeah.
I mean, like they, we've been talking about this for 50 minutes, so we can look forward now, and we can transition to that by going into looking at how this team does go forward. And they were both asked, McDermott and Josh, they have a game in 3 days,
Right.
How do you feel going forward, and do you think this team will have any issues? I think that the question exactly was, do you think this team will have any issues being able to play football again? And they both said no. The interesting thing was they said that when Damar Hamlin's father called Mario, when he called them, he said that they can't stop. They can't stop. They can't stop what they're doing. They can't, because he said that that's what Damar would want. He said, Hamlin would want you guys to go out there to play this game, to keep doing what you're doing. He's like, you guys can't stop the path that you're on, however it ends. But he's like, you have to keep going because, and then the interesting thing was Josh said, Mario Hamlin said to them that it's what Damar wants, but he also said that that's what he wants, and that he was kind of like scolding them a little bit. He was like, you guys have to get back to it. He's like, you guys have to get back to work. You guys have to get back to doing what you need to do to win football games and to win us a Super Bowl. Because he goes, that's what Damar would want. And and I think that's going to be huge for the rest of the year for them, is this.
This is going to definitely bring.
Be,
I mean, right? They already had this culture of brotherhood that very few teams had, right? And now they have something to rally around, and that kind of thing. Not just the chip on your shoulder kind of thing that you
that's the
that
other
you
thing.
can that you make up.
Right.
You sort of are like, oh, we're disrespected because
but the other part
we need
of
a
that
chip and a reason to play for it.
Is this team hasn't had much to make up this year. I mean, this team has gone through thing after thing after thing, not just on the team, but even in the city that they play in.
Yes.
I mean, it's when the Bengals game started and the way, it started going back and forth. I mean, I think there was a little bit of a nervousness that if there was one team that was, I mean, the Bills were kind of due for like a team to just down them,
Mm-hmm.
And if there was one team that could do it, it was the Bengals. And kind of walking into the game, especially with the way it started, where they just marched down the field on their opening drive.
Mm-hmm.
I think there was a little bit of has the perseverance of this team ran out. And I think now with what happens with Hamlin, and I think you have a revived squad a little bit here. I think this has injected a little bit more life, especially at a very important time right at the end of the season. I mean,
well, the photo I'm showing you was taken today,
right
after they talked to Hamlin's father, after they heard the news. They said that after the news, or after they got the information that he was able to write,
they were on a Zoom call
and all of that there was raucous, like clapping and cheering from the locker room and stuff while on the call. And that one of the guys went to Elena Getzenberg, who's one of the Bills beat reporters, and said, we needed this. Yeah. Just, and that's what he said. We needed this, and it's like, and you can completely understand that as a person. Like, you need to figure out a way to go on, to figure out a way to understand why life did this and why.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I mean,
how
Josh,
it all puts together.
I mean, Josh brought up a good point about that. He was like, when speaking about this Sunday, he's like, there's still stuff that they have to work through as a team, but getting that phone call from Damar Hamlin's dad, and basically having Damar Hamlin's dad being like, go, like worry about him, but you guys have a job to do. You go to work, go do what you need to do. Keep playing, go on, go win a Super Bowl. And, I think it's pretty powerful stuff, honestly. I mean, I think that's how this team keeps going. They rally around Damar. They play for Damar, and I think the rest of the season.
Well, I'm
will
sure you'll see a
definitely be
number
for
3
him
on their jerseys and
or something. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, lots of things.
But yeah, because I mean, like before today, I mean, like thinking about the game on Sunday, I was like, how do you play that? And I mean,
Right.
like I understand how you have to, because I mean, they can't cancel, and I mean they can, but they're not gonna. They're not gonna. They're not gonna cancel another game unless like the entire league came together and was like, we're not playing. But that's also not going to happen either.
Right.
And I mean, I was like, they might lose. If we didn't get good news before then, especially like, or at least some sense of a significant update. Because I felt like before this, like the 50% action trending in the right direction, other stuff was trending in the right direction. But we never got this concrete update.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not a doctor, you don't even know really what 50% from 100 to 50% even means.
Like,
you know what I mean? Like, yeah. Like, I'm like, okay, that sounds good that he's down from 50 to from 100 to 50, but like, what does this mean for brain function? What does this mean for physical movement? You know what I mean? So it's like, but then like you said, you hear he wrote it and he was able to write, and it's great.
But speaking of this Sunday, they play the Patriots.
They do play the Patriots.
I have no idea. That's how this game's gonna go.
They may come out and just blow them out, blow their doors off.
Yeah.
Or they may just come out and lay an egg. And you know what? Either way, it's completely understandable.
Yeah.
I think everyone is probably hoping and thinking that they blow their doors off,
especially with them being at home.
Right.
I think too. I think if this game, they brought as McDermott brought up. I thought McDermott said something that was kind of funny. Was like talking about this Sunday where he was saying it'll be different, but he was like we've been away for a while, and that's true. I mean, this is the last week of the season. This is one of the last times we're going to get to see him at home this year. I think the crowd will be raucous, but I have no idea how they're going to play. I have no idea how truly locked in they're going to be. Yeah, I mean, like you said, they could either come out and do what they normally do to the Patriots and just dominate for 60 minutes, or they could come out and it's just they make mistakes, and
their head's not in it.
Right, their head's not in it. Guys are dropping balls, like balls are,
it's just
interceptions. Yeah, like it's just not it. Yeah,
focus isn't there.
They're running all over us, like. But
I think that talent and skill we still have more of that than the Patriots do,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, one or I don't know. I mean, I was just thinking in my head, like maybe one or two guys in the position group might feel be hesitant, but I don't know if everybody will be. And I think that with that being the case, I think we could easily still beat the Patriots. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. And the fact that Josh and McDermott, when asked, like, are you guys going to be able to play? Like, is it okay? Like, are you guys going to be good? And they were like, yeah. Like, they were kind of like, we trust this team to do their jobs, to do what needs to get done, to be able to lock it in and still care about our teammate. And, I agree with you, CJ. I think at the end of the day, skill will come. I think the first quarter, they might come out and it'll be a little, I don't know if it'll be like, it won't be rust, but it'll be like, they just won't be locked in.
Just hesitancy.
And
yeah.
And
I mean, and maybe we'll see both of that lack of focus.
Yeah.
And then,
and then eventually, we'll see the Bills become the Bills because they'll be like, we're down to the Patriots right now. What's going on? Or they'll be like, all right, let's just go.
Well, I think if you go through a whole quarter and there's not a catastrophic injury again, moving forward, you know what I mean? You're going to feel more comfortable, you know?
Yeah, sure.
Or
Right.
whatever
Yeah,
time that
right.
is in your brain, first play, first series, you know what I mean? There's different levels in it for different guys, right? So some guys will maybe play the whole game and okay, fine, now I'm, you know, or a quarter or a play
or who need to take a hit. You know, I
Yeah,
mean, they always
that's my
say that
point, right.
they always say
Mhm.
that after an injury, like when you return, you need to be able to take a hit and just be able to go, okay, I remember what I'm doing. You know, I
It wasn't
get
as
it.
bad as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it'll be, I mean, I think, you know, it'll be interesting. I think I think it does definitely help though that they got the news that they did about Hamlin today. But yeah, I mean, something that we didn't even hit on was his charity, which is up to 7.5 million now. But, you know, a bunch of good top donations from, like, you know, Brady, the Colts, you know,
What are your
players
guys'
not
thoughts?
even in the NFL.
What's your guys' thoughts on the fact that GoFundMe makes 20% off that?
Yeah, they probably shouldn't.
And
I don't
also,
know. I mean,
what's the thought
that
on?
seems high, but
I know, right?
it's
And does
also
that go to
like,
his family or is it all going to go to his charity?
They said that GoFundMe was like specifically for the toy drive, and I guess like he doesn't really have like an established charity, so they're gonna like establish one and then figure out how to help the community and stuff in Buffalo and in Pittsburgh.
Well, I'm saying their family too, though, right? I mean, obviously, hopefully.
Well, yeah, it's also gonna
he can
go to
never
like
play
helping
again.
him get what he like if he needs
Right.
like
Yeah.
stuff that too. So, but the NFL also came out and said, because like generally, I mean, he's a 2-year player. So, I mean, he hasn't hit the vet spot where if he were to get injured and be completely done, you know, he would get all that stuff. But the NFL did come out and say that
yeah,
he
you have
would
to be vested for 3
right.
years, right?
And he's not vested. But the NFL did say that with this, you know, if he ends up needing what the vested players get, he'll get it. He'll get that help from the NFL. I don't know what that will entail because at the end of the day, it's still the NFL. But they did say at least they'll be there to help and to do what needs to be done, which I hope means he gets what the vested players do.
Yeah. I agree. 10,000 from Russell and Sierra.
10,000 from Sean McVay.
Yeah.
How much
Chris
did
Jericho
McCaffrey
voted
give?
twice or donated twice. Yeah, Christian McCaffrey's on there.
I can't remember. You
Matt
guys had said that
Stafford.
he
Matthew
donated a good
Stafford
amount.
gave 12,000.
Wow.
The Robert Kraft and the New England Patriots gave 18,000.
Jim Irsay and the
Jim
Colts
Irsay gave
25.
25,000.
Mike Evans gave 2,500, I think. Devontae Adams gave some money.
Chris Jericho donated
Twice, 5,000. The O'Briens.
Rich Eisen.
Bill O'Brien.
Bill O'Brien. Andy and JJ Dalton gave 3,000. Jeannie Buss.
Julian Love.
Ryan Leaf.
Huh.
You know,
Shannon
I mean,
Sharp.
it's Josh McDaniels, Shannon Sharp. This anonymous person. Wink Martindale on his own. Yeah. This anonymous person just shows up everywhere.
Mac Jones and family.
Mac 10.
Yeah.
2183. Okay. Paul McGuire. I mean, you see some really interesting names on here when you look at the
Kevin Brannigan.
I don't know who that is, but
the Thomases.
Michael Phelps,
Drake
Jason
London.
McCourty, Devin McCourty.
Julie Kaufman, I think, is somebody. But yeah, I mean, the outpouring of support for him has just been phenomenal. It's been great. And
to your point, right? They've raised $7.5 million.
It just went up. That's funny. There was just a donation. Yep.
It must have been from our bringing awareness to it.
Yeah, obviously.
Well, clearly our viewers are hopping in. So
Yeah, exactly.
Michael Shaughnessy, we see you. That was the most recent donation.
Your $8, perfect.
Nick, 2 minutes ago. Nick Lefkold, Nick Hazer, Pam, like all these people. Just, I mean, obviously we have no idea who those people are, but and the cool thing was, you know, it's not just like that kind of stuff, but like I'm also seeing on Twitter, like
Gameday716 donated, by the way.
Yay.
but I'm seeing on Twitter like fantasy leagues, you know, being like, let's give the winnings to the foundations. The sports betting group that I'm a part of, all of their winnings that they won on the day he got injured, they donated to the thing, and that's not the only sports betting group that I've seen do that either.
Yeah.
I mean, like to see that kind of stuff is awesome. I mean,
yeah, I mean, you have the McCaskey Fantasy League donated 5 minutes ago, $180.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's just so interesting to look through this and
stock people. But yeah, I mean, hey, it's we got great news today, you know.
Yeah, you just hope
awesome.
it continues to trend upwards, right?
And I mean, based off what the doctor said, it's kind of sounded like, obviously they're taking it one day at a time, and they didn't really answer any questions where they were like, oh, where's the point where you think, oh no, or where you're like, you know, or what does the future look like? You know, what does it look like when he's off the tube, or that kind of stuff. And, you know, they wouldn't really answer those questions. But the one thing that they kind of did say was, if he wasn't progressing the way he was right now, then that would be the start of the issue. I mean, the fact that they were able to wake him up, the fact that they're able to slowly get him to breathing on his own. And they said that's a process. It's going to take time, but the fact that they're already able to get him down to 50% is huge.
Right.
I mean, you know, his lung issues, they said have been healing well and clearing up for him. So, you know, it just seems to be it's thing after thing for Hamlin going right.
Correct. And that's like where I said,
the best part.
All you can do is hope, pray for those who pray, and hope that everything just continues to trend in the right direction. You know, I mean, another thing that we were talking about was
Dominic Foxworthy just donated. Charles Leno just donated too.
I don't know who that is.
Jen. Oh, okay, I don't know. It was a big amount, so I assumed it was somebody.
Yeah, but I mean, you know, you had the Sabres playing same night
after.
Next day
against the Capitals. Won 6-5 in overtime.
Yep.
Tage's third
before
goal.
The game.
Amazing.
Before the game, all of the players came in wearing the Love for 3 shirts, which I thought was really classy.
Yeah.
Just shows the connection between the Bills and the Sabres, which everyone talks about. You know, you see Dean Dawkins at games. You see
Josh,
like
all of them. Yeah,
all of them. You see Sabres guys, you know, at Bills games. Half of them from Finland, not having a clue what's going on.
Right, but they're just like,
oh, crowd cheering. Hey. You know, and that kind of thing. So I thought it was cool to see that. And then you want to talk about Tage?
Yeah, so yeah, I mean, you know, more threes going around. You know, it's been 3 days since Monday, and he woke up. Buffalo won in overtime against the Capitals, and it was Tage's third goal to give him the hat trick, and it was Buffalo's third overtime win of the season. Also, I think this was like Dylan. there was something about like Dylan Cousins. Either he had like 3 points in the game, or he was on. He's now on like he was on a 3-game point streak. I think it was the same thing for Power too.
Mhm.
I
Well,
mean,
they both had 3 points
scored.
in the game.
They scored 3 minutes into overtime. It's just
It was Tage's 30th goal.
right. Yeah, it was Tage's 30th goal of the season. It was just wild.
Lots
Like,
of threes.
They also came back too on the Capitals. I'm pretty sure they were down and came back to tie it to force overtime, and then won it in overtime too. So I mean,
so that was neat.
they play.
The Sabres
Saturday
are good.
next. Yeah. Guess what?
They're actually.
Guess who's an all-star?
Tage.
Yes. Tage Thompson is an all-star. Do you know? I don't mean to take away from the Hamlin conversation, but I don't know if you guys knew this. Jason Botterill came this close to trading Tage Thompson for a 5th rounder, and the team that he wanted to get the 5th rounder from said no.
Wow.
So we could have missed this.
There was a well, Botterill was Botterill, so we'll leave it at that. But there was a tweet from a Rangers fan who said, "I think I would trade the entire kid line for Tage."
Wow.
And then someone wrote back, "That's not enough." Which is true, because they're not scoring. I mean, and I'm sitting there going, well, Granato could definitely get something out of like Lafreniere. And, I mean, these guys who have major Capo Caco, he could probably turn into something good, and Kravtsov is the other kid, right? I mean, he's their center, isn't he? Mm-hmm. So it's an interesting line. It's an interesting thought, but I don't think the Sabres would do it.
I don't know if I would either, honestly. I mean, I think to give up Tage, it would have to be a true haul.
Yeah.
The Bears donated $19,203. 1920 being the year the Bears were founded, and number 3 being obviously Big Hamlet's number.
Yeah, a lot of people are donating with 3 at the end. We just donated. Gameday716 donated $31 because that was his number from last year.
Yeah, that's fair.
So,
yeah, it's awesome.
It's nice to have two teams going well in a pretty tragic year in Buffalo.
Yeah,
and Hamlin just adds to the tragedy that's been going on. But, I've been down. I mean, especially since Hamlin's thing happened.
Well, I mean, even though they're football
today
players,
was the first day that I was even able to just feel like a person. I don't know how to completely explain.
Yesterday I felt really out of it. I was just like,
yeah.
I mean, the thing, I think I said to you guys was the thing that kept hitting me was him and I are the same age.
Yeah.
And it's he's a football player, and but still at the same time. It's
and as your dad, that hits me too.
Scary.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Just that you and him are the same age. And I sit there and go, him and my son are the same age. And that's something you think about and that you don't truly consider until you need to consider it, kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, then you also heard the story of his mom running down there, and I was just like, oh, because that was something that I heard on the radio. Sal was the one who pointed that out, because he was just kind of I'm just standing here. He's I'm just watching. He's I don't really know what's going on. And they didn't
know why the ambulance hadn't gone yet.
Right. He's well, he's even his mom came down while it was first initially happening, and where nobody knew what was going on. So they went down to Sal and were like, "What can you see?" Because they were like, "We can't really see anything because we're watching, the broadcast." And you're on the sidelines. And so they're like, he was like, I can't really see anything either. He's like, the players are forming a wall. And then like at one point there was just like this silence, and Sal is kind of like, yeah, I'm just kind of standing here watching. And then he goes, oh, a woman just came down in a 3 jersey. He's like, I think that's Damar's mom. And then he's like, oh, I think that it definitely is, because now she's talking to security and she's telling, and then at one point he got close enough where he heard her be like, I am Damar Hamlin's mom. I need to get down there. And, to hear that, and then to hear her run back up, and then to get that whole process. And then, Sal kept saying, the media was in close in the locker room. And Sal kept just saying, they're backing us up. They're backing us up. They're backing us up. They're telling us to back up. And then at one point he said that he was standing there and he was like, I can see the ambulance like through the locker room tunnel. And he's like, it's not going. And you're like, oh. And it was just thing after, but for it to end the way it did today is just fantastic.
It's not over.
It's not over. Obviously, he's not out of the woods.
For the news that we got today,
but it's trending in the right direction.
It's trending in the right direction. So before we leave everyone with Damar Hamlin's mic'd up 5-minute little mic'd up episode, let's say our regular goodbye, and then we'll just let Hamlin play it out.
Yeah, that works. Made it to the end. We appreciate you for watching. Do we want to do predictions? Do we want to talk a little bit more about New England? CJ, do you feel the same way?
I just feel like we have no idea.
Yeah, like, do you feel the same way that we do? Like, I know what you were saying about talent, but do you see the Bills winning?
Yeah, I think they'll win. If they play, I think they'll win. I think if we continue to hear good things from Hamlin, I think then we'll definitely be fine.
Yeah, I'm not going to give a score prediction. I'm just going to say they're going to win. I mean, the game could be 7-3 or the game could be 57-7. I don't know.
I would think more on the 57-7 side, but I mean, that's just because that's what I want.
Hopeful. Yeah, I mean, the spread's 7. I think they cover it.
I think that goes up.
Probably. I think that goes up now.
Yeah.
Though the odds for the Bills winning the Super Bowl went down.
Well, that's because of the bye. That's because of which I might put like $100 on them because I think I'd win like 5 now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Chiefs are now ahead of the Bills.
Yeah, because they're probably going to get the 1 seed after this all works out. But I mean, I like the idea of going to the 1 and the 2 seed, and whoever's the 1st seed being like, okay, do you want home field advantage or do you want the bye week? And then whichever one the 1st seed doesn't pick, the 2nd seed gets. And I think that would be a fair.
I would take home field advantage, and
I would too. But I think the Chiefs might take that bye week. They would have to play less games. They haven't had the stoppage, but they would have to play less games. They would get the rest period. But I also think that's just me being hopeful.
Well, the Chiefs are like 7-1 on the road too.
That right.
So
yeah. I mean, I was thinking like they're gonna just think we're the Chiefs. We're not really scared of anybody.
Yeah.
And I think they would take that bye week. And I would absolutely love home field advantages if we win and get the 2 seed.
That's interesting if they do it that way.
Yeah. I heard that floated as a rumor because they're obviously not going to play the game. I mean, we know the game. I don't think.
Yes.
Yeah. I think that's been confirmed enough.
It's been confirmed by numerous sources that it's not happening.
What are you?
And that they're trying to figure out the playoffs.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's the reason why it's taken so long. But what are your thoughts on that, CJ? Would you do that with the 1 and 2, or would you do something different?
Okay, if you're gonna ask me what I really feel like, and I don't know. I don't want to come off like a certain way, but I genuinely feel like that both teams made a decision and they kind of have to stick with that decision. And I think that you move on for everybody else. This like people are going to, I don't know how to put this, but people are going to have an advantage because of what happened. That's just, it's gonna happen. I don't think KC's necessarily saying to themselves, "Oh yes, we got so lucky," because it's not that. You know what I mean? So,
That's a good point.
so I think you're just gonna have that, and I think I don't really think they're gonna cater to us as that much. I think they'll go forward with the playoffs the way they are. I could see them adding the 8th.
Yeah,
but I
see,
think that
makes
first
more
will be
sense.
first. Still.
That makes more sense to me than doing something like the home field advantage decision.
Yeah,
like allowing teams to make a decision like that. It just doesn't seem very NFL like.
Yeah.
Well, if the Patriots beat us on Sunday, they're in.
Yeah.
Well, would you want to face them again?
It depends on whether there's 8 teams or not. I mean, or 7 or what they're doing, right? Because are they automatically in?
If they beat us, they're in. Yeah.
Okay, so even more of a reason to beat them. But does that mean Miami gets in, or who's next? Like, do we know?
I don't think it's.
I'm sure we could
it's
look
one
the
of us.
playoff.
I don't think it's one of the AFC teams.
It might be Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh is right there. They're 8-8.
They're 8-8.
I think that's right. I think it would be Pittsburgh.
I think they need a Miami and a Pats loss though, and a win, obviously.
But I wonder if the Jags would get in.
No, the Jags are in no matter what.
Yeah, they have the first seed or the top the division. Sorry.
Oh, but they're playing for the division on.
They're
Sunday,
playing for
right,
the
but
division.
They're in. On the bubble is the Dolphins, the Steelers, and so it would probably honestly be the loser of the Titans and the Jags.
Tennessee cannot catch. Oh, they can. Okay, so they could be
Tennessee,
8-9 and 8-9.
Yeah. So here's the AFC South title, right? It's a winner takes all between the Jaguars and the Titans. If it's a tie between the two teams, then the Jaguars get in because they're 8-8. So over 7 and 9. If for the number 7 wildcard seed, the Patriots clinch with a win at the Bills or a Dolphins loss at the Jets and a Steelers loss versus the Browns and a Jaguars win versus the Titans.
Oh, they all need help from each other.
Well, that's only if they lose to the Bills.
Okay, so the Patriots are at the top because if they beat us, they're in, and everybody else gets screwed.
Everything else is pretty simple. The Dolphins clinch if the Patriots lose, and the Dolphins win.
Okay.
Steelers
Pittsburgh needs both of them to lose.
Steelers clinch if the other two teams lose.
Okay. And Tennessee gets in if they beat
Jacksonville, and then Jacksonville can clinch the 7th seed.
If all 3 of them
lose.
If
they lose to Jacksonville and all
if
the
Pittsburgh, Miami, and New England lose.
So whoever loses between Tennessee and Jacksonville, if the Patriots, Dolphins, and Steelers all lose, can also get in as well, even if they lose.
If all 4 teams lose, the Jaguars get in.
Or the Titans, right? Whoever loses that game.
The loser of the Jaguars and Titans get in.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I think it'll be a fun Sunday. I think we'll have some good games, and I think it'll be a fun Saturday, Sunday schedule. And then that Monday is National Championship. TCU in Oklahoma. No.
Let's try again.
Georgia.
Yeah, I thought you were joking.
I was not. I literally said Georgia. Red. They're both red,
Are they?
No. Oklahoma's like a deep
maroon, crimson. Well, that's Alabama.
Yeah.
What color is Oklahoma?
Are you talking about Oklahoma State or are you talking about Oklahoma?
Oklahoma State.
I was talking about the
orange.
Sooners.
Okay. So they are like a red.
It's red. Yeah, it's close enough.
I'll give you that.
Yeah.
but they weren't good at all.
They're not.
No, they weren't good at all. I knew.
So why
weren't
they
good.
would? Why they?
Yeah, I don't know why I said Oklahoma, but yeah, Georgia and TCU. I mean, Georgia's gonna kill. I mean, that's my assumption.
Yeah, no, I think so.
TCU's gonna hang,
Never
especially
know.
if that running back's out. Yeah, you never know. I didn't think they'd hang with Michigan, but here we are.
Michigan, who's in trouble.
Yeah. Some minor infractions.
Minor infractions coming. And a review of how they disciplined themselves over the minor infractions. So, if you
made it to the end, we appreciate it. As always, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Interact with us at Twitter at Gameday716. Yeah. We're praying for Damar. Go Bills. We hope they win. Go Sabres on Saturday against the Wild. They're wearing the goat head. They have not lost the goat head. So let's keep that going. As always, stay safe, stay happy, stay healthy, take care of each other. Tell someone you love them today. And that's it. That's all I got.
Stay zenny, Buffalo.
Hey, I can't watch on my play today. Hey, it's a standard. No matter who on the field, it's a standard. It's established a long time ago. Y'all go out there, y'all play fast, you play smart, get to the football and make some plays. Playmakers on 3, 1, 2, 3. Playmakers. Let's go, Greg. Let's go, boy. Come on. Come on. Come on. Yeah. My love. Let's get to it, baby. Let's get to it. Go on, 7. Let's get to it. Come on. Come play 1. Play 1 to play 9. I want to strap it up with y'all boys. Hey, man, y'all boys know what it is. They nothing but a mindset. It's up here every play. And y'all boys know what we do. We strap and we talk. Let's go, DB. 1, 2, 3. DB. Let's go, T-Dot. Come on, baby. One more. We got another one together, bro. Promise. Hey, promise 2-4. Promise. Take advantage of this. Come on, Quan. With you every snap, bro. Every snap. Let's go. Yes, sir! Let's get off! Let's get off, D. Come on! Yo! Yo! Yo!
Empty set on 2nd down. Allen with time. Now fires, looking end zone, and it's caught! Touchdown! Davis!
Like, it looked like Josh about to scramble, turn back into the pocket, and then just do a zinger. OJ! Leave me alone, Boogie. I am done. My coach told me I am done. My coach said you are down. You know what that means? I am down. I'm very much down right now. Huh? You know Smiley said no? No, Smiley said you're down. You know what? Hart came over to me and said, kickoff, you're down. And guess what my coach came over to me and said? You're down. Oh. Yeah, come on, Carl. 2 diamonds? And 2 diamonds? I think it's 4 diamonds. They put together. I'm like a 6-carat diamond too right here. I got there on the corner. I got to pull the whole 2 out and put a diamond in. I didn't want to do that. Don't feel the same? I don't know. I never had a tooth pull. And it's crazy to pull a tooth just to put a diamond in. You should put a diamond in. When you old and dead and gone and your body decay and you evaporate, that diamond still gonna be busting. And you're a score, they just gonna be there. I think still gonna be busting though. I'm here. For tonight. Oh, ref. And one. That's our new shit. We're gonna go. Nah, we're gonna go. We're gonna keep it super simple. We're gonna go. Here, we're gonna go here. 2 bumps, 1, 2. That's all I got for right now. I'm gonna think of it. Brawn on them. So I'm here. Yeah, that's it. That's it. One more time. Let me try to still get back to you. I'm still getting back to you, bro.
4th and goal. Ripping. And he is going down. Elianku the first to get there, and then Brandon Bryan finished him off.